everyone, I want to make a video talking about the experiences with losing my father to cancer, since there are a lot of people that struggle with the death of a loved one, whether it be a mom, a dad, a best friend, because remember, relationship OCD can go way beyond the boundaries of an intimate relationship. So mom, dad, brother, sister, best friend, loved one, etc. But, really just the death of a loved one, but primarily from a parent. So before I go any further, look for that What's Up link down below. Like I always say, it's a new feature we have. You can direct message Phil right away. We can get you in. Like I said, we work with people all over the world, so time zones aren't a problem. And if you're struggling with English, is not your primary language, we can do some translations if that's something you're looking for. We have webinars every single Tuesday, and they are growing. And something I'm throwing out there as a teaser, we are going to do at some point our first OCD conference, more than likely. We don't know how we're going to do it yet, maybe an 8 to 10 hour day. People can drop in as they come along. I'll speak for a few hours. Sam, Eric will be there. Rob, Momin, other people, guest speakers. It will be a lot of fun. We're going to get people to kind of come in from all over the world that we've coached and gotten to recovery. We're in a much better spot. I think it's such an amazing thing about what we do. This is an OCD company run by OCD sufferers, all at the chronic level, no mild stuff here, even though we see that. All of us were in quite a lot of despair. And if you don't want to do the What's Up link, you can email, of course, as always, phil@ocdrecovery.com. So my father died on March 28th. Sometimes I even forget, in 2018. I actually got his name tattooed above that. And maybe if I find a really good portrait artist, I would put like a funny photo of his face above it. I think that would be amazing. My father had OCD 100%. He had hoarding problems, really bad ones. Not dirty type hoarding. It was very organized and extreme hoarding. Very bad with emotions. Acted a lot on impulse. That was a big one. Had a hard time maintaining relationships with individuals. Guarantee had some relationship anxiety. Definitely had fears of not being able to do what he wanted. That was a big thing that separated my mom and my dad. And my mom was always saying, I knew there was something very odd about your father. He had very similar addictions that I had. That's why I do think, when someone abuses something like adult websites for a really long time, more than likely there is a pathway that could be passed down. My father had a big problem with that. Wasn't around when I was born, but he had a lot of problems with that, with women specifically. Which I saw, I was modeled after, and fell into the traps myself. These are all different aspects of my journey and thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to get out of this? I remember where I was. I was in graduate school a year in at a conference. I was really excited. I got a phone call from my father. Now, my father always answered the phone in a very happy, Nicholas, what's going on? He was full Italian. I always joke and say he was as tall as he was wide. He was very, very, very overweight. Anyone that's from the New Jersey American Italian community, and that stereotypical, what you'd imagine American Italian to look like, who was an attorney. I mean, I think he had a size like 48-inch waist at one point. He was big. He was, 5'4", 5'5", and he was over 300 pounds at one point. So he had it coming. And his law firm, actually, when he died, we found it really upset my sister. The law firm paid for yearly Robert Wood Johnson, which is a good hospital, yearly physicals. And for years, it was saying he was in a really bad spot. And he never listened to any of that stuff because he just was that type of an individual with his belief system. So the phone call came in. Erica was next to me, and he said, I have something I want to tell you. I said, sure, what's going on? He said, I have a 10-centimeter tumor on my pancreas. Now, when I was in school, I had just finished gastrointestinal and GI pathology, which means cancers of the stomach, pancreas, everything in this region right here. And Erica immediately started to cry, because anyone that knows anything about cancer and oncology knows that pancreatic cancer is not good. Symptoms usually show really late unless they catch it by accident in some other ways. Usually it's stage 3 and 4 when the symptoms start to show for the majority of cases, and most people are dead in 6 months to a year. So I said, fuck. And the next question I said, is it on your liver? Easy place for it to metastasize. He said, yes, I have 3 spots on my liver. Dead. You're dead. I think I said it like that. I said, you're dead. And he said, I know. And I said, well, what are you going to do? And he's like, I'm going to think about it. I'm going to do chemo and radiation. And he died 7 months later. The diagnosis was, 7 months? August, September, October, November, January. August, September, October, November, January, February, March. Yeah, 7 months later. I did that right. I think I lost count somewhere in there. It's the end of the day. That's why I'm doing this video and not walking outside like I usually do. Had a little bit busy going on today, stuff going on. So yeah, he lived 7 months and it was pretty rough. He made videos for me and my sister, private videos on our Facebook, and it was incredibly sad. But he worked all the way up into the end, and I don't think I covered it well at the time. I've never been put into a situation. I've had crazy stuff happen to me, medical. I have viral encephalitis. I've had meningitis. I've had Epstein-Barr. I was in the hospital for 90 days when I almost died. But you're so young. I was 13. You're not really conceptualizing death. But I knew my dad was going to die, especially after just learning all that. So he died. I was still in grad school. Then 3 months later, my aunt died, my mom's only sibling, and then my dog died. So my mom, even though my mom and my dad were separated, she lost her husband, her sister, her only sibling, and then a dog that slept in her bed. All in like a 3.5 month period. So that was brutal. When my dad died and I was at the grave and we were all there, I hadn't seen my aunt in a while. She really struggled with addiction. Addiction runs in my family in many ways. So she struggled with severe alcoholism because she died of cirrhosis. And when she got out of the car, I thought my dad looked bad before he died in hospice. She gets out of the car. She died 56 pounds. So think about that. My mom's sister was 56 pounds. She was so jaundiced. I mean, she was this yellow, her entire body. My father was really jaundiced because of, everything he was going through, pancreatic cancer, liver failing, bilirubin, getting released in the body, all the toxins, all that stuff. You don't even know what bilirubin is. No, I haven't said that word in so long. Anyway, but my aunt was highlighter yellow, and she had in-home hospice. When she bent over, her spine, like in the bumps in the back of your spine, they were sticking up like that much. It looked like she was a skeleton and skin was just like draped over. It was totally crazy. And it was a tough time. I went back to school. This is when my OCD was becoming extremely chronic because all the stress leading up and me bearing it. And, my father died. I saw him. I was actually at Ultra in Miami in 2018. And my sister said, you have to come home tomorrow. And I was like, what? So I had to leave Ultra. Then he died. I saw him for like the last night. I saw him. I got there on let's say I got there on a Friday. I saw him at 7 because he was really good at hiding this stuff. He's like, no, stay. Like, don't come home and see me. I'm going to be good. As he's like dying in hospice because I didn't see him because I was in school. Carly messaged me and she said, you got to come home. Like, Dad's going to die. I was like, yeah, well, I know he's going to die. She said, no, he's in hospice. We just put him in. I'm like, wait, what? That's how he was. So then I flew home and I saw him. And then, I was sitting there and I remember it like it was yesterday. It was like 2:38 in the morning. And then the light turned on. My dad had a home where it was like an older home that was stairs up and down. And I heard the like creaking of the steps. Doot, 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 and the light opened and I'm like, he's dead. And then Carly, my sister said, he passed away. Your dad's dead. Went to see him, we cremated him, and so forth. Okay, so that's the story about my dad dying. Now, how do you break down his fears? The reason why I tell you this is what you're more than likely going to go through. I mean, statistically, your mom and dad are going to die of cardiovascular disease, cancer, pulmonary embolism, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and even when they die of old age, you're still going to die of something, whether it's a stroke or, they don't wake up in the middle of the night, etc. So when you look at the book, I'll use the book for this one, okay? And I go to page 70, okay? So let's think about it. Okay, so let us go back to the ABCs, the activating events, belief systems, and consequences of REBT, rational emotive behavioral therapy, to dispute. So your goal is to accept the inevitable reality that you're either going to die before your parents or your parents are going to die before you, vice versa, kids or anything. So your activating event, my father died. I'm going to do it from the perspective of my father died. My father died. My irrational belief. I can't stand the fact my father died. This is unfair. It's awful. Nothing is worse than losing my father. This is the worst thing on earth. Rational beliefs. I don't like the fact my father died. It's frustrating, but too bad. And this might sound brutal, but it's the truth. Fathers, daughters, mothers, they die. This doesn't mean we can't be upset. This doesn't mean we won't cry, but we will have to learn to accept the realities of life. Okay? Now, let's go over some disputing. Why must my father live? Okay? There's no reason why my father must live or outlive me, but there's several reasons why he would die before me. There's no evidence that exists that my father should have stayed alive. He's a human being, a mortal like the rest of us. Okay? Disputing. Why is it awful that my father died? In no way, it may be damned inconvenient and severely sad, but it's hardly 100% awful or inconvenient, as people lose fathers all the time. If it were awful and terrible, it would be more than 100% inconvenient, which it can't be. So death is an integral and an important part of life. I'm actually going to pull up Steve Jobs' quote on death, which I really, really like, from his commencement speech. So Steve Jobs' quote on death. Let's see it will come up. What are the images? Remember that you're going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You're already naked. There's no reason not to follow your heart, which I thought was a really good one. There was another one where he said about, here it is. Okay. Death is very likely the single best invention of life. It is life's change agent. It clears out the old to make way for the new. That was in his 2004 commencement speech at Stanford. I thought that was an absolute, and he died of pancreatic cancer. And I'm looking at the picture, that last picture that he had of him. He was just so skinny. That's what my dad had a lot of, it's called ascites, free fluid in the abdomen. So he looked extremely pregnant, but I mean, his face was like sucked in. His hair was all gone. It was a really sad thing to see him. It was tough. I mean, I cried. But when I first saw him, I cried. So that's what you really want to do. But you can't really predict how you're going to feel during these situations. Death is not easy. And there's numerous ways that people can die. You know, car accidents, strokes, cancers, violence, physical altercations, shootings, stabbings. I mean, even with Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, you know, forgetting who you were. Life is very, very unfair. But, and I'm going to end it with this, as I've been saying in many of my videos. I read recently my first book by Cicero that he wrote when he was 84 years old. And he said one of the number one causes, and Ellis got the principles from this, of emotional disturbance is thinking that there's expectations on life that things basically shouldn't happen. So when someone dies, it's important to understand and accept in time that death is part of life. Remember, there's three options. My dad dies before me, I die before him, we die together. Car accident, plane crash, etc. So, you know, and that one's much less likely. So it's really he's dying before me or I die before him. And if I die before him, I won't know because I'll be dead. I don't, you know, personally believe in an afterlife. So, you know, there's really only one conscious state that could be painful, and that's him dying, because that would be the only one. And that's just the realities of how you break down this stuff down. And some of you have lost moms, dads. Some of you have lost kids to cancer. Some of you have lost brothers and sisters to overdoses. We work with people all over the spectrum. And acceptance of that scenario is really key. Daisy's at the door. Let's let her in real quick. Okay, Daisy's not at the door. I'm hearing things. I'm losing my mind. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Remember, look for that link down below. That's very, very important, that if you're struggling with this, we can help you. We can really show you the tools of acceptance. We've all had to practice it. We all know what it's like to lose loved ones. We all know what it's like to lose loved ones whilst having OCD. I mean, it seems like you're drowning in mud and you can't breathe. You know, you're in quicksand. But, you know, we can help you get better. And Phil at OCDrecovery.com if you like that. Thanks again, guys, as always, and have a great day.